Good evening and welcome to the April 26, 2023 East Lansing City Planning Commission meeting. Mr. Dempsey, would you please take the roll?
Yes. Chairperson Sullivan.
Here.
Vice Chairperson Bowman.
Here.
Commissioner Boyd.
Here.
Commissioner Denault.
Here.
Commissioner Hendricks. Commissioner Lapine. Commissioner Wagner.
Here.
Commissioner Williams.
Here.
We have 6 present, so you do have a quorum.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Vice Chair Bowman and seconded by Commissioner Denault. Seeing no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And the ayes have it. On to item 1.3, approval of the minutes. And we're actually going to approve the minutes for the March 22nd and the April 12th meetings. Both of those are in tonight's agenda packet. Is there a motion to approve both sets of those minutes?
Motion to approve both sets of minutes.
Moved by Commissioner Boyd,
A second.
seconded by Commissioner Wagner. All those in favor, aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, the ayes have it. On to item number 2, committee reports. Commissioner Hendricks isn't here. I think the only one might be the small cell ad hoc committee, so.
Yes, and may I?
Yeah, go ahead.
I can't report out for them, but
Yeah, please.
would staff be able to report?
Yes. Yeah. I can provide an update on the small cell committee. So
We could just move on to item number 3, and you can include that as your staff
Sure.
report. Thank you.
So for the staff report, first item on the 5G small cell committee, so they did put together a package of guidelines that were pretty quickly compiled. The group did a lot of work in a short period of time. That's been submitted to Crown Castle for their review. The committee is also looking at updating those as well, recognizing that they did have to put them together rather quickly. All of the information on the applications are on the city's 5G small cell webpage. So if you want to look at what applications have been received, they're on there as well as a map. So that's a good place to find some additional information. The only other item I had this evening for an update was at its April 18th meeting, the City Council did approve the Falcon Point site plan application that the Planning Commission did recommend affirmatively. They did add one condition to the approval, and that was that the Transportation Commission and/or the planning staff work with residents to find a satisfactory traffic calming device, tool, or approach essentially for Thoroughbred Lane. There were a number of residents who appeared at the council meeting expressing concerns about speed on that street in particular, so that condition was added. But that's it for staff report.
Great, thank you. On to item number 4, commissioner announcements. Seeing none. Item number 5, communications from citizens. I do see that there was one written communication for 212 Albert that was added to tonight's agenda for the floor plan. Is that from the applicant?
Yeah, so we received an updated floor plan after the staff report was written. So the staff report and that associated plan, the report, of course, is based on that original plan, but we do have the updated floor plan. So we wanted to make sure that was here because the applicant might want to speak to some of the changes in that updated plan.
Great, thank you. So they'll give an overview of what they specifically changed during their portion, I assume. Okay, on to item number 5.2, verbal from the audience. Are there any members of the audience that wish to come forward and address the commission? Seeing none, do we have any members online in the queue?
We do have somebody online. I'm going to, Sabrina, I've unmuted you and allowed you to speak.
Hello, this is Sabrina. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
My main communication as a member of the public audience, I'd first want to check if public audiences are still allowed to talk for old business that is coming up for this meeting, or if that is closed now.
They can discuss old business during this portion for your 5-minute allotted time period.
Okay, I did want to, yes. I want to speak on the old business regarding, yes, sorry, there's a delay between the online and my, I will begin now. My talking was about the Trowbridge modification, and so I wanted to talk about specifically the 5:30 a.m. request change. That is what is the change that is being requested. And so looking back at the 2017 meeting on March 8th, where the drive-through was initially discussed, the 6 a.m. allow time was already a compromise between having it open either earlier or at 7 a.m. The original 7 a.m. proposed time was a tied vote for committee members, and then the compromise was at 7-1 voting to then change it to a 6 a.m. And then several members of the commission at that time did speak about the traffic issues, about the roundabouts, parking, and the drive-through lanes of the drive-through where it is currently placed, how it is placed against the traffic. And then member of the commission at that meeting also discussed 2 prior examples of precedents where drive-throughs had been requested to be near residential areas, one in 2004, one in 2010, and based on complaints from the public, both of these were denied by the city council. So these drive-throughs did not go in. And so this is just to talk about and bring to light again so why the 6 a.m. was already a compromise on many of the things brought up. And so asking it to now be adjusted to 5:30 again is continually moving the goalposts early and earlier, ignoring prior discussions that happened regarding displacements. And I will end that there. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
All right. Thank you for your comments. Is there anybody else in the queue?
We do not have anyone else in the queue.
All right. I believe that brings us on to item number 6, public hearing. Consideration of a special use permit site plan application to renovate the building at 212 Albert Avenue and expand the existing restaurant with a new Class C liquor license. Taylor, take it away.
All right. So the request before the commission today is an application from BL Mash East Lansing LLC for a site plan and SUP application to expand the Jolly Pumpkin restaurant, which is located at 218 Albert Avenue, into the white box space to the west of Jolly Pumpkin currently, so into 212 Albert, which are both within the larger city Center City building downtown. The applicant is also bringing in a Class C liquor license into the city. Each of the 2 spaces has 2 levels, a ground floor and a mezzanine, and they're proposing to connect the 2 retail spaces, 2 restaurant spaces with the removal of wall sections on the ground floor and then also on the mezzanine. So there'll be access to both spaces on both levels. Overall, the new space will have an occupancy load, an additional occupancy load to what Jolly Pumpkin has now of 160 persons across both the ground floor and the mezzanine. The subject property is zoned B3, City Center Commercial District. This allows this use by special use permit, of course. This district typically accommodates a mix of offices, retailers, and residential uses. The municipal parking system provides parking services to any property within the B3 district by default. You actually have to get a longer scale exemption to not have to use the municipal parking system. The master plan for this area is designated M4, which is for mixed use. So that's intended to increase mixed uses such as residential and commercial uses, which in the same building, which the Center City building does overall. And it was originally designed to provide additional housing, parking, and commercial services, so a variety of uses in the city. The proposed expansion of a restaurant downtown is compatible with the existing surrounding properties. No additional traffic is anticipated as the city center development originally reviewed back in 2017 was approved with commercial uses in mind for these spaces, so they've already been accommodated for. And then the design and the development of the parking and access to the city center took into consideration that, so that mix of uses. The staff report states that the applicant is proposing implementing outdoor seating at a later date. However, we did receive recently submitted outdoor seating plans, which are included in the agenda underneath the communications section. And it has yet to be formally reviewed, but will be in short order, of course. Additionally, any outdoor seating will be required to be closed by midnight, and no electronic sound producing devices can be plainly audible beyond the property lines. That's just standard ordinance for the area. And then serving alcohol at a sit-down restaurant is customary in downtown, so it's not unusual to see in the area. And so it's not anticipated to adversely affect adjacent uses, as it's pretty standard to this area. I'm happy to answer any other questions, and I believe the applicant is here tonight to answer any further questions about the request.
Mr. Wagner?
I have a quick question about the occupancy load. What is the current occupancy load of Jolly Pumpkin? I didn't quite catch what you said.
So the additional occupancy load is 160 across both the mezzanine and the ground floor. I believe it's a 112 on the ground floor and then 48 on the mezzanine in the additional area. For the pre-existing space, I would have to do some quick math, but in total, I believe, 390.
Yeah, I see it says 397 here.
Yeah,
That just seems
97.
like a lot. I mean,
Yeah, the existing space is relatively large. There's the downstairs and then the upstairs, and then they do have some outdoor seating approved as well for Dolly Pumpkin. So that was previously approved.
so the
Yeah.
occupancy load includes outdoor seating as well as indoor seating, or just indoor seating?
The occupancy load for this proposal does not include outdoor seating.
Okay.
Additional questions? I just had a question about the liquor license. So this is going to be a separate liquor license from the main Jolly Pumpkin establishment?
Yes. So I'm sorry, it just got really loud all of a sudden. They've applied for a liquor license with the city. They're bringing in a Class C rental license, or not rental license, I'm sorry, liquor license, which is allowed under state law to move liquor licenses around and such things and so forth. So they're bringing in one, and that's registered with the city, and that will be. What they have now is essentially a microbrewery license, but the new one will allow for higher level percentage alcohols to be sold.
So just to clarify, will they only have one liquor license, or are they going to have two liquor licenses?
It'll be the singular license, so the Class
So they're
C
gonna
will be
change
able to, yeah, it allows you to sell both wine, beer, as well as the spirits.
Spirits.
Okay. And then, so just a follow-up to that, so this will allow a Class C license. Will that usurp the previous license they had available and allow them to serve liquor in both sides of the, okay, understood.
That's correct.
I thought that was the case. I
Yeah,
was just
that'll
making
apply
sure.
to the entire combined space, correct.
And then, as far as connecting the two places, are they going to be connected on the first floor and the second floor? Okay.
Yep, on both levels.
And then the exterior seating, will that be connected as well, or will that be separate seating for each establishment?
I believe there's like door separation, but we'll have to review the outdoor seating plan in more depth.
Okay, because you said that was added to tonight's
Yeah, it was added
agenda.
recently, and we haven't had
Okay.
time to review it.
I'll let the applicant talk about that too.
right.
That's all the questions I have, unless anybody else has any questions for Taylor.
Okay.
Thank you, Taylor. Come on up. Welcome.
I'm not sure if you my name is John Carlson, and I'm with BL MASH. I'm not sure if you have drawings in front of you, but I did go to Kinko's today, so you have them. And I can answer some of the questions that you already asked as well. Not perfect. So I can show you if you need to. The current liquor licenses are non-transferable. The microbrewery, small winemaker, and small distillery license will go away. And Northern United Brewing Company, which is the current owner of the location, the tenant, will no longer be the tenant. We would be the new tenant. I happen to be partners on the management company that runs the Jolly Pumpkin. I don't do the hard work. I'm in real estate and finance, and so normally in front of planning, I'm talking about historic rehab and apartments. My partners do a lot harder work than I do. And it would be one license then for both locations. We do that for marketing to give a different feeling. We have locations up in Traverse City that sometimes the customer may not be aware. but North Peak and Kilkenny, they're on top of each other. You can go back and forth, same license, same company, but sometimes the customers don't know. We are an odd company that we have larger spaces. I think certainly during COVID, you'll see that people have been shrinking, and we're kind of stuck, maybe because we're old, and this is just how we like to function. I'd also state, this is an odd one, but I do not think we will be the most popular location in town. We're going to have price points that are a little bit higher. That's how MASH is. We have a MASH in Ann Arbor, but it's not on campus. It's on Main Street. We have one in Depot Town, Ypsilanti, which is not on campus. It's down from Eastern Michigan. So this is our closest one to actually being on campus, and we want to be careful. I do have one child in college, another one about to be, and we just want to make sure that we're a place that people don't end up at. So our plans right now are to close at 1 a.m., not be 2 a.m. There's some great, super fun college bars that I attended back 30 years ago, but that's not what we intend to be. And I'm here to answer any questions, but we are a little bit larger space. We love doing private parties, private events, and think that that'll be a nice complement, I think, to some of our neighbors as well.
Mr. Wagner?
Can you tell us a little bit about the entertainment that you envision,
Yeah.
and how often and what sort of things will be happening there?
Yeah, it's not as exciting, meaning a lot of people do trivia. We like that, and it's we'll continue to do that. We'll have live music, and we're not talking large bands. We have 2 to 3 people, mostly acoustic. We will have DJs at times as well, but we're not a music venue. We have music, but that is not our focus. So it's a small stage area.
Thanks.
This is neither here nor
Vice
there
Chair.
for your application, so if you feel like you don't want to answer it, that's
Yeah.
fine. I'm just curious, is it your sense that so your patronage is typically older?
Yeah.
I only ask because my sense is that the product that you're selling is a little bit more pricey and sort of is not a $5 pitcher. And again, this doesn't
It
have
is.
anything to do with our
And
decision.
I love
I'm just
$5
curious.
pitchers,
Yeah.
but yeah, we're a little bit pricier. I think our craft beer that we'll still buy. It's a 3-tier system in Michigan, so Northern United Brewing Company will sell to a distributor, and we'll buy just like everybody else will. We can't buy direct. It is craft beer. We are a little bit more expensive. The cocktails will be a little bit more expensive. But when we looked at our neighbors, we thought that would be a good complement. We can't compete. We won't compete. But we like to be by fun places. So, I mean, this will be fun, but it'll be a different age. I think of this more as grad school and above is our market.
Right.
So I take it you won't have a lot of TVs on playing sports games and things like that.
We do. One of the partners played football at Michigan State, so it is required that we have TVs.
Any additional questions? Thank you for your time tonight.
Okay, thank you.
So I think, barring any changes, it looks like we will see this at the May 10th. Oh, sorry. First off, let's open the public hearing for this item. Is there any members of the public that wish to come forward and address this particular proposal? Seeing none. Anyone in the queue?
Anyone in the queue?
All right. Now it looks like we will see this item at the May 10th meeting, which is our next meeting. All right, that brings us to item number 7.1, consideration of a modification to a condition of special use permit and site plan approval for the development at 1090 Trowbridge. Taylor?
All right. So the Planning Commission held a public hearing for this item on April 12th. for this SCP modification, which pertains to extending the hours of operation for the drive-through of what's known as Suite C, so the southernmost unit of the single-story commercial building at 1090 Trowbridge. The conditions in the packet. So in the packet, you'll find motion to approve, as is standard, along with 5 conditions. That's located on page 2 of the agenda item report. The conditions are fairly standard, requiring that all previously applicable standards remain in effect from the 2017 approval, and then that state and local regulations and codes must be followed, as well as the memo of SUP must be requiring that it's filed with the county and then returned to the city for formal recording. And then the final condition changes the hours of operation to be set between 5:30 a.m. and 9 p.m., Monday through Sunday, for discussion. So if there's any questions, I can answer them. And the applicant is also here. They provided additional information regarding the drive-through sound levels, which was requested previously, and that's in the packet as well. It's the 4th item in the attachments.
Taylor, could you give an overview of that item? I mean, the sound.
The sound
specifically?
levels? Yeah. So it states primarily, it's quite a long document actually, primarily that the sound levels do not exceed conversation level, so about 60 decibels. 50 feet away from where it's going to be located. So they've done tests. It's several tests by the company, things like that, stating and proving that distance. And then the applicant can probably actually speak to it in more detail as well for more questions in that aspect, the company and things.
Okay. Any questions for Taylor? Commissioner Williams?
Taylor, the member of the public who called in, kind of essentially said, given that this is merely a request to extend the opening time by half an hour, that this is kind of another bite at the apple, and that City Council had already not granted this hour of operation that's now being requested. So can you confirm that that's the case?
So any application can return to City Council for decision as frequently as every year. So they just can't do it more frequently than a year. So they can't do it within the same year. Approval was granted in 2017. So they're within their right to return and say, we'd like to request again that you review this and change your mind or give the exact same answer as before.
So I wasn't really asking if they had the authority to make the request. I was asking whether or not they asked for this before and it was declined.
It was, as far as the hours of operation, the minutes from those meetings indicate that there was many voices from the community who came and spoke to that, and that the commissioner or the council members felt that it was, as the public member said, that there was a compromise, but they felt that they needed to put on record that they didn't feel it was invasive enough to limit it further. So they didn't feel that the noise was, quote, invasive is what the word they used, and then also that 6 a.m. was a compromise, yes. So that is accurate to what did happen.
Thanks.
Just wanted to mention, too, for the minutes that Commissioner Lapine arrived at 7:08. And then just to piggyback off of that conversation, so when this was previously discussed, it was as a white box space, though, right? It wasn't under discussion as a coffee shop or a Starbucks or anything in particular. It was
it was a drive-through.
As a drive-through, but
Yeah.
not a Starbucks or a coffee shop, right?
No, not specifically.
So it's a hypothetical hours for a drive-through at this location. Okay. Thanks for the clarification. Any other questions for Taylor?
I have one, and it's just, I think, a point of clarification. If we were to approve the extension of the hours to 5:30, does council, and this goes to council, do they still have the opportunity to put it back down to 6 a.m.?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you don't approve, as a commission, you don't approve anything.
True. Yep.
In this instance, you
Yes.
just recommend something.
Yes.
And then city council, it comes before them, and they can deliberate and amend it as they feel need to. So
Okay.
yes, there will also be another public hearing held at city council. So there'll be another opportunity for the public to speak, and then also an opportunity for the city council to deliberate and change any motion or conditions as they see fit.
Perfect.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? All right.
Seeing none, thank you,
Jordan?
Taylor. Are there any questions for the applicant? Would you like to come before us? Do you have any updates you'd like to provide first?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thank you. And yes, I guess just to reiterate that point, I wasn't with the company in 2017 when we first came to the Planning Commission, but this was a white box space. We knew it was a drive-through, probably going to be some sort of coffee, early morning user. But now that we do have Starbucks who's interested in the space, they have asked us to come forward on behalf of them to coincide with the hours in the other market, or in the market of East Lansing and the periphery stores. So that's the request on behalf of Starbucks to do so. Regarding the automatic volume control for the speaker system, I've now have more information than I care to know about communications and ordering systems, but helpful nonetheless to further define and understand them. It's not our goal as a developer to disturb the adjacent uses. So with this AVC, they use the acronym with the speaker systems. It automatically adjusts due to surrounding noise. So it won't be, I think someone used the word squawking last time. This won't be a squawking speaker or anything like that. I think the data suggests that at 16 feet away from the speaker, it's a sound of like a residential dishwasher or the inside of a standard office space at any given time, and that's without vehicles. They're providing a further buffer. So with the lot line being 60 feet from that speaker and then an additional buffer to the residential units, we felt that this was an appropriate request based on the data that we provided. Happy to answer any further questions that anyone else has.
I had asked a question last
Sure.
time about hours.
Yep. So they will match, the inside of the store will match whatever is approved.
On the topic of hours, I think you discussed this at the last meeting, but the two Grand River locations, do those open at 5:30 or 5 or 6? Do you know?
So they actually, their hours kind of stagger depending on the week. It go into a little bit later or earlier, so it's not 5:30 consistently every day. So that's, I guess, another layer of the onion that Starbucks might even do here, is it might not be 5:30 every day. I can't confirm or deny that. That's not my call. But I do know that kind of day by day, different stores vary from 5:30 to 6 or something like that.
So, for example, on a Saturday or Sunday, they might decide they want to open a little bit later, but they
Yeah.
want
Yep.
to
But-
be able to open at 5:30.
Yep, during the week for sure.
Okay. Do you know if either of those Grand River stores opens earlier than 5:30, or is 5:30 the earliest?
5:30 is the earliest.
Okay, but you said staff will sometimes come a little bit before that to help get the store ready to open.
And well, they swap staff too, so like they
Mhm.
can push employees to different stores. So even though hours do vary, it would just be helpful to keep consistent with the other stores in the market as far as employees moving around.
Okay. Any other questions from commissioners? So I'll just mention too, I saw some of the correspondence here in the packet about potential changes to the landscaping along the stone wall. Do you have anything along those lines planned for that space, or do you believe that the stone wall and the volume of the speaker is sufficient to hinder the noise concerns?
With the distance, we should be well within the requirements of the ordinance and just the distance in general. It should be very, very quiet at that wall on our side, not to mention on the other side as well.
Thank you. All right. Any remaining questions? All right, seeing none.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion so we can discuss further? I could tell you pulling it up there.
Yeah. I just sorry.
Yeah, I think they're competing. We're going to see who's.
It's fine. I will defer.
All right. Commissioner Williams.
Move to recommend approval of the special use permit modification request to extend allowed hours of operation to 5:30 to 9 p.m. at 1090 Trowbridge Road for the reasons listed in the staff report dated April 26, and subject to the 5 conditions also noted in that staff report.
I'll second.
All right, seconded by Commissioner Wagner. Any discussion?
I don't really have anything else to say. I think we've asked all the questions that we have. I initially had some reservation about this, but I think given the updated information that we've received from the applicant, I'm satisfied that this is an appropriate request.
Yeah, I'm of the same mind too, in particular being that it's a coffee shop. I think early morning hours are important to them. It's consistent within the area. I think that some members of the public brought forward some good points about drive-throughs in general. Although the ship has really sailed with this, being that the white box is already built, it's already existing, and really they're just asking us to expand their hours of operation. So, yeah, I think it's appropriate.
Yeah, I guess I'm of a different mind, and that's all good. I'm sympathetic to the speaker at the previous meeting's concern about sort of the support of business that, sort of in terms of encouraging expansion and sort of new locations for these businesses. But I think I'm more sympathetic to the speaker or to the caller's concerns about, in as much as they want to align all their locations one with the other, and I appreciate that as well, that generally speaking, I would like to see these removed from residential areas when, or at least so perhaps some additional concern or additional restrictions placed on them. I don't know that it's that much that it'll bother me. Yeah, I probably will vote against this. Unless I hear something that sways me the other direction, knowing that the applicant could come back, in a year's time, if indeed that it sort of proves to be less troublesome than it potentially could be. I guess I'm a little, I say that and sort of contradict myself and say I am somewhat concerned that there's not a little bit more public opposition. That seemed to me when this came up in 2017 that there was a lot of, I don't know if you were at those meetings then, but my recollection was that there was a fair amount of discussion about whether noise or traffic or whatever. So I'm sympathetic to the proposal, but and in a residential location, I'd like to see it kept at its to sort of the 6 o'clock time.
There's still time.
That's all good.
Mr. Williams.
I think I share those sympathies that you just expressed, but I think it's important, especially since we've had multiple conversations about this location. I was on the commission when this development was approved initially. I think it's important to move this along to the commission, and if a compromise is to be made, I think that's the place to do it.
To council?
Yeah.
To council, yes.
That's fair. I mean, council ultimately has and may very well hear, as the results of our recommendation, they may very well hear more or less opposition as a result of that.
Yep, that's
Fair
the way I
enough.
see it too.
All right.
I will say I have some concerns about exhaust being so close to a residential area. That's one of the things that's really, I guess, disturbing to me. But again, that concern is not really within the scope of what we're being asked to recommend. And so I have some misgivings myself, but I think I agree with everyone that that would be something to let council decide or address.
Right, and just to add on to that, I know we discussed that at the last meeting, and we heard some conversation and some data about the impact of drive-throughs, but, we're not debating about putting a drive-through here, right? There's already a drive-through here, so it's, we're discussing and changing the hours, and, you know that, and you acknowledge that, but, so I think that's an important distinction, and I think that's information that we can keep in mind should a drive-through come before us in the future. So yeah, that's where my mind's at.
Yeah.
Any additional comments? Mr. Dempsey, could we do a roll call vote for this one?
Sure. Commissioner Bowman,
No.
Commissioner Boyd,
Yes.
Commissioner Denault,
Yes.
Commissioner Hendricks, Commissioner Lapine,
Yes.
Commissioner Sullivan,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner,
Yes.
Commissioner Williams.
Yes.
6-1?
6 to
Is that
1.
the right
Yep.
count?
Yeah, I apologize. I called Commissioner Hendricks, and he's obviously not present. So
All right. So the ayes have it. Thank you. All right. That brings us on to item number 8, new business. Seeing none. 9, commissioner concerns. Are there any commissioner concerns? We still have one opening for an applicant on the Planning Commission, correct?
that is correct.
Okay. So I will note that as a concern that we have an opening and we should fill that opening. So should any members of the public be interested, please come forward and submit your application.
Yeah, to my knowledge, I don't think we have any current applications present, but we can double check that with the clerk's office.
All right. Thank you. Commissioner Williams?
More of a question for Mr. Dempsey. Some time ago, there was an announcement that went out to board members, various boards in the city about training. Open Meetings Act, those kinds of issues, procedural issues in terms of running a meeting, votes, those kinds of things. And it was canceled with the note that it would be rescheduled. I'm just wondering if you have any information about that.
Yeah, actually I do. I know the city clerk raised this at a meeting recently. She's in the process of trying to get that training rescheduled. So that is in the works, so hopefully we'll have a date soon that we can share with everybody.
Great. Thank you.
Good catch. All right. Seeing no further concerns or comments, we are, we have to do a motion to adjourn, right? All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Moved by Commissioner Denault,
Second.
seconded by Vice Chair Bowman. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We are adjourned at 7:38.